Well, you were going to make some comments about some recollections that you have of Bill. Anything that comes to you?
Yes. Yeah, there are things like I mentioned that Bill would, as coming from school, he would go home and he would, particularly in the wintertime, he would roast a sweet potato in the oven and wait and listen. I think it was around 4:15, Morton Downey would come on with his song, his theme, and Bill would listen to him religiously. And that was his idol, Morton Downey.
My gal and I ain't together. It's raining all the time. Oh, life is bad. Gloom and misery everywhere. Stormy weather. Just can't get my full self together. It's raining all the time. Keeps raining all the time. When she went away, the blues walked in and met me. If she stays away, old rocking chair will get me. All I do is pray the Lord above will let me walk in the sun once more. Can't go on, everything I had is gone. Stormy weather, since my gal and I ain't together. Keeps raining all the time. Keeps raining all the time.
Bill always wanted to sing. In school, he was in all of the pageants, and
That was something that he wanted to do. From
yes.
early childhood.
From early, as a matter of fact, in the second grade, he was in the play. We went to parochial school, St. Peter Clavers, and he was in the play called The Japanese Sandman. I'll never forget. And he performed there, sang and danced, and he always wanted to. He
was a dancer also?
No, he couldn't dance. He couldn't even jump. He was 6 feet 3 inches tall, but he couldn't jump over a fireplace. He had no athletic ability at all. No dancing with his feet.
All of his skills went to his voice.
Went to his voice, and quite a bit went there. But he was quite a guy. He left home, left school, in fact. He went from school in Baltimore to Washington, and we went to Atlantic City. And he went there with me, and I got a job on the board, on Atlantic Avenue, as a dishwasher. And Bill had never worked in his life. And I worked there for about 2 weeks, and Bill says, "Get me a job." I says, "Okay." And I got him a job there, and which promoted me from dishwasher to busboy.
So you gave him your dishwashing job?
I gave him my dishwashing job, see? And Bill was the kind of guy who would put a dish in there like this. This is how he would do it, you know. And I left to go out just to have a break, and when I came back the first day, Bill walked out and says, "I quit." He and the chef had an argument, right? And Bill says to me, "You stay." He says, "But I can make as much money in 1 day as you make a week." And he went down to Dude Ranch in Atlantic City and worked. I imagine he sang a cappella at the time because he had no voice. He had no music written for him or anything. And Jack Burrill heard him there and started him out, and he went from there to New York. Milton Berle's brother.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So Bill, he never came back home. I went back home and went back to school, but he decided he wanted to sing.
And then did that lead fairly shortly then to the organization of the group, or was that?
No, in fact. Bill left in 1934, 5 for New York, 36, I think, yeah. And he went into New York from Atlantic City. And he told me later that many times he was hungry. He would take 1 can of beans and let it last 3 days. And then he got a job at the Savoy Ballroom. Each band member was supposed to give him $1 apiece. At the end of the week, they wouldn't give him anything. And he would walk from like 145th Street down to 48th Street in New York until his feet just swelled. The doctor told him to stay off his feet. He eventually, the ink spots were working then under a different name, and they had just come in from Europe and were about to disband because they weren't making any money or anything like that. And Mogeo knew of Bill being at the Savoy working, and called Bill in and asked him to join this act.
Little time and so much to do. There's so little time for dreams to come true. Many ships to sail, many a magic land, many a moonlit trail, many a road to walk hand in hand. There are songs of love we never have sung.
I remember going to see Bill in New York, and Mogeo placed all of them in one apartment on Amsterdam Avenue. They lived together. They rehearsed and everything. And then in 1939, If I Didn't Care came out, and that's when they went to the top.
Skyrocketed. And,
Yeah.
If I didn't care more than words can say, if I didn't care, would I feel this way? If this isn't love, then why do I thrill? And what makes my head go round and round while my heart stands still? If I didn't care, would it be the same? Would my every prayer begin and end with just your name? And would I be sure that this is love beyond compare? Would all this be true if I didn't care for you?
You talked about the ink spots breaking up. That happened in the early 50s. What led to that? Why did they break up?
Well, one of the reasons and my brother had often told me he wanted to do a single more than anything.
Oh, really?
He was not satisfied with quartet. And he often said to me, Herb, get together because I'm going to make a change. And I left the Ink Spots in 1950 and started recording for MGM. And Bill worked further with the Ink Spots, and he was quite disturbed with the replacements and everything. And
Finding the quality of people
yes.
that he wanted to work with?
Because the fellow who replaced me was a fellow who had sang in churches with me and had asked me for a job, and I asked Bill to give him a job while we were at the Zanzibar, and he gave him a job as valet. So for years he was a valet. He was a bass singer. And Bill was not satisfied with what was happening, and he and his wife Audrey went into Vancouver, British Columbia, and he completely gave up the act. Prior to that, he came to the house. Often he and I would meet at my mother's, and when I had my TV show in Washington, he was on the show with me. And I knew something was wrong. He wasn't satisfied because he wasn't concerned about going back to do any work in New York. Then he called me when he was in Vancouver, says, Herb, let's get together and sing together again. But in the interim, the BBC asked him to do a TV show, and that took precedence. But when I left, the Ink Spots was not the same. And I think that, they didn't record the Ink Spots after that. They recorded Bill by himself. but not the Ink Spots.
They continued to perform.
They continued to perform, yes, on certain
Uh-huh.
shows and things like that, but that was downplayed so much. And Bill never wanted to really be with, he always wanted to do a single. And the unfortunate thing is that the Ink Spots name itself had a greater box office attraction than Bill Kenny, you see.
Right.
And if Bill had have done something before that to feature Bill Kenny and his Ink Spots some time ago, he would have had a chance better as doing a single, I think.
So if he would have promoted his name and billed it a little bit differently early on.
Exactly right. And it's ironic, the same thing happened some time ago to a fellow named Billy Williams of the Charioteers. He was with the Charioteers was great, but when Billy Williams decided to leave, he did not do as well as a single. And yet Bill Kenny was a great singer, great artist, I'll tell you.
I'll admit I'm in love, but with nobody else. Honest and truly, it's you.